All right, guest time now, and our guest today describes himself as an ordinary dude, but I think he is extraordinary by most any definition. He's trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. On a bicycle, he scaled Mauna Kea, endured Death Valley, toppled Telluride, among others, and he has a huge following on YouTube and across social media because he is dope, bruh. He is a Category 2 NCAA racer and still has time to be a husband, a father of 2, and so much more. Please welcome to the Real Men Eat Plants podcast, the Vegan Cyclist, the one, the only, Tyler Pearce is with us today. And holy cow, Tyler, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, there's the audience.
Get that round of applause in there.
That's us.
They're always a little bit late.
I need to hire you to hype me up every room I go into. Like I need that.
Absolutely.
Whenever I show up to your voice.
Did you know Rich does ring announcing, so that's probably why it sounds as good as it does. So
yeah, I do boxing, ring
reason
announcing, cage announcing. That's I try to build it up. I ramp it up, and yeah, exactly. And I definitely,
bro. That's That's class A right there.
All right, easy. Rich's head doesn't need to get any bigger.
Yeah, I wish. Exactly. I do wish I was making Bruce Buffer's paycheck. That would be all right. Dude, I watched the Breathe video that's just right at the beginning, on your website. It's on your social media. And I did this last week when you said, okay, you'll come on the show. And it made me go on a bike. And I haven't been on a bike in a long time. And all those things that you described about your legs burning, your lungs, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, yep, I'm experiencing this, but I'm just going to breathe. The one thing that I couldn't get over, though, were the blisters on my ass, the saddle sores that came from riding a bike for the first time in a long time. And then I tell you, you're on a bike for 24 straight hours riding 350 miles in an ultra race. How the hell, first of all, does your ass handle it? And second of all, why did you get started on this crazy path? Because it really is something.
Yeah. So that's like a really common thing for people to say, like, oh, your ass must hurt. And I need a better seat or something like that. But when you get a little bit more into it, the way you're fitted on your bike is really important. And so there's like 3 pressure points. There's your pedals, your saddle, and your bars. And if you are fitted right, then that's all evenly distributed. And then you actually don't like have any issue with your ass whatsoever. Okay. Now, I probably over time, I have like just a taint of steel, but it's never really an issue for me. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, no, I mean,
and they do say
it's
they
kids, so
ride
clearly.
a lot.
It's a crazy
don't feel it anymore.
Yeah. So it's a crazy journey with this whole thing because I never wanted to be a cyclist, and I definitely didn't want to be vegan. Like if I was talking to a 21-year-old me and I said, hey, you're going to be a vegan cyclist for a living, I'd be like, you're like, no, like this is a joke. Like not going to happen. And so it's so wild to have gone through such a transformation to something that I would say I was so far away from. Because that wasn't how I was brought up. Like I wasn't hippie. Like at a certain point, I owned a motorcycle shop when I was 18 to 21 during the heyday of the economy, like 2004 to 2008. And at that point, like, what did I have as role models as a man? And this was just like wearing a really nice suit, being single, living in like some high-rise apartment, driving nice cars. Money is everything. That's what I was just hoping to be. And so then over time, as everything just fell apart in my life and I lost my business and like my whole identity was stripped from me. And, we were in a foreclosed home, just waiting to be evicted. And I'm working in some like shitty little office being a debt counselor. That strip of everything you think you are is really important, because then you see who you are and you're not able to hold up a mask anymore. And so then you might have to make changes because you're like, I actually I'm actually a shitty person. And so then, you know, my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, like she was the only one that stayed around with me. Like she went through this whole roller coaster with me. We got together when we were 18, and, you know, just realizing like people are important, people that care about you are important. And then, you know, I also got really fat during this process because I was just super depressed. So I pulled a mattress out in the living room and was just playing video games all day and just eating all day because there's nothing else to do. And I was just trying to like drown my like depression of being a business owner to then being like borderline homeless. And, and so then there was a moment where I went to a wedding. I went to a friend's wedding and I saw a picture of me from that wedding. And in my head, I am like a good looking guy and like I'm kind of fit. But then in that picture, I was just super fat. I mean, I was like 220 pounds, not a good looking 220 pounds, just like all fat. And I was just like, what the hell is that guy? Because that's not who's in my head. And then I really had to try to make some decisions on changing, you know, my lifestyle. And that was a long journey of chasing health. That eventually led me, you know, to be some ultra distance vegan cyclist. And that's like the difference between where I was and where I am now is just wild.
Man, I tell you, you were talking about that journey and going from, you know, your lifestyle to kind of realizing this is not who I'm meant to be. You know, and I don't know if you were an active person necessarily at that time about, you know, when you're telling this story before the weight gain, but, you know, what was it like for your wife? Because, you know, your husband, you have 2 kids, and then you go on this journey to become the vegan cyclist, and that might not even been a part of your life. And it wasn't, like you said, you didn't imagine that it would be. So how was that adaptation like for your family?
Well, so I went vegan when my son was 2 or 3. And so, you know, he doesn't really remember a whole lot of like meat at all. And my daughter definitely. What was actually really funny, just recently we were in Hawaii and there's just random chickens everywhere in Hawaii. And so then we're on a walk and there was a chicken like trapped in a cage in a bush. Like, so like locals will trap these chickens and because they're just everywhere. And my daughter, who was 4 at the time, she was like, why is this happening? And I go, well, a lot of people eat chickens. And she did not have the construct to understand what that even meant. Like, this is a chicken. People eat food. Well, they don't eat chickens. Like, she couldn't even understand. Like, it wasn't even, she just like dismissed it. Like, my dad's insane. You know what I mean? Like, people don't eat chickens, right? Because she's just never really been around that or been shown that lifestyle. And it was like kind of a moment where I was like, oh, that's so wild that she doesn't even have a box to put an understanding into, let alone that I have to change or help her change or anything like that. Like, it was kind of crazy. But my wife, she grew up in the mountains. And so what's kind of funny is I think like, what she envisioned her life being is like married to some scruff and rough mountain man that like chops wood and wears flannel, you know, definitely not a vegan cyclist. Like, you know, that wasn't her trajectory. But she's just been so supportive in everything. And I really try to make sure our relationship is 100% on both sides. Like, some people go, it's 50-50. Like, it's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You have to give 100% to your partner to expect 100% back. And as soon as someone does 95, well, then that other person does 87 and then 72 and then 45. And then both of you guys are giving 0 fucks, right? Because like, I'm not going to do for you what you're not going to do for me. And I think that there's been a lot of opportunities in my relationship with my wife to guarantee her that she knows I'm going to return 100% of the effort. And so without question, and that's hard, right? It's hard to come back from a bike ride and immediately jump into dad mode or husband mode, and not complain, not talk about it. Right. I mean, I was gone for 3 weeks on this crazy bike trip. There was like 3 different events, and it was just a lot. Like I was gone. They came out to Texas on the last week, but I had been gone for 3 weeks. I'd been racing back to back to back. It was just so much. The second we flew back into town, for my wife's birthday, we had ordered her the new Bronco back in 2020, and it had actually just gotten delivered May of 2022. So, I'm like texting with the dealership. And so the first thing we do is we fly back from Texas. I've been gone for 3 weeks. I just want to be home. Like, I don't want to do anything, but like, that's like, no questions asked. Like, we're going to go and pick her up this car. Like this is her dream car. She ordered it online. Cool. And then, so like now I'm spending 3 hours at a fucking car dealership with some sleazy car dealer. You know what I mean? Like, this is not what I want to do. But
that's that 100%.
Right. And so then, and then she and the kids get to drive this brand new Bronco back, because we live an hour from town. So where we flew in, top down, like hair in the wind, and I'm just in this stinky like van, just like, like all the way back up. But it's like, whatever, right? Like this is opportunities to make her know I'm 100% there for her. So when I slowly started making health changes over time, she was always there with me. I mean, I didn't eat my first salad till I was like 24, right? Like that was the first time I'd ever ate a salad. And, and so then, we would just slowly, it was like, Michael Pollan said, eat whatever you want, just cook it yourself. And that was something that I latched onto. And I was like, okay, because I'm not giving up bacon cheeseburgers. But if I want to eat it, I got to cook it myself. So then my journey became this, it's fast food 3 times a day. Like legitimately, that's all we were eating.
That's wild.
And then it was like, okay, well, I want burgers and fries. So then I started learning how to cook burgers and fries. And then what do? Well, you touch the beef and you touch the bacon and you're connecting with it. So now you want better bacon and better beef, right? You're like, well, I want grass-fed and free range. And so then you start getting into more of like a culinary experience, and then you start feeling a little better. And then you get like better ingredients. And then you start realizing that the more vegetables you add, the better you actually feel. So then it was this slow process of where we went from, burgers and fries to like, maybe a nice steak with some mashed potatoes and butter, to then like salmon and like asparagus and potatoes, to then at a certain point, like our protein on the plate was like a very small piece of turkey or salmon. And the rest of it was like borderline vegan. Right. And then because I just started riding and I was trying to become a little more faster and I was looking for performance gains. And then actually what really ended up happening is that I didn't go vegan for animal rights. That's not like my main focus, but we had chickens. We were on 5 acres. We had these silkies. They're like bougie, high level chickens. They're like awesome. And it was a really neat experience because they just roamed our land. We'd feed them. We'd protect them. They would come and like lay an egg in a flower pot, squawk, and then leave. And it was like, this feels really like a symbiotic relationship. Like this is neat. And anyways, they had chickens. So like we had a rooster. One of them laid eggs. They hatched. So then I had these baby chicks in my hand. And then I saw that video where they sex the chicks and they toss the males into the wood chipper. Now, I've seen that video a ton of times before this, but without that context, without holding a baby chick in my hand that I feel connected to, that video did nothing. But then when I saw it and my chickens are roaming, I thought, well, could I do that? Could I take this baby chick and throw it into a wood chipper with like just straight faced? And I was like, fuck. And like all of a sudden, I had so much pain in my heart. It was so weird. And so then I was like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm vegan. And it was just like a literal light switch. And then for breakfast, we had like bacon, eggs, and yogurt. And then for lunch, I come down and I'm like, hey, babe, I watched the wrong YouTube video and I'm vegan. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Now you watched the very right video. Sounds
Oh,
like.
God.
and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, something's changed. And she was so supportive, and she was just like, well, I mean, whatever you want to do, like, we'll support you and we'll try it with you. And that's something that, like, in the plant-based journey, if you don't have a support team around you, it's probably impossible, right? Like, if my wife's still making all, regular food and meat and all that stuff, I'm going to have a weak point, and then I'm going to eat a little bit, and then it's that slippery slope. Like, to me, I sort of drew a line in the sand, and I said, I'm never going to cross this because I will just revert back. And I've done so much work to get to this point that I'm just going to exist from here on. Like, I'm not even going to think about it. Now, some people, I think, battle with that, or maybe they want to eat meat, or what, for whatever reason, genetically, it works for me flawlessly. I have never once in the last 8 years ever thought, man, I really wish I could eat a cheese pizza, or I wish I could eat a burger. Like, it's just not there. And that's not me trying to hype it up or anything like that. It just doesn't exist. And I think a part of that also, though, comes from the side where I came in through cooking. And so I actually know how to make good broccoli. Like, my Brussels sprouts, I think they would win awards, like, I mean, they're very, very good. And when I have people come and eat dinner with me, they're just like, I don't know, how did you make this? Like, how did you do this? And it's like, well, it's sea salt and oil. Like, it's not magic, but how many people grow up with their parents microwaving broccoli and not seasoning it and being like, eat your vegetables, kid. And it's like,
right.
I'm not going to eat that. I'm not eating plain steamed broccoli. That sucks, So, like, for me, I know how to make vegan food taste good. We've gone to vegan restaurants almost every time. I'm like, I could have done better. I'd rather just cook at home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like me cooking and my wife cooking. Yeah, we got a background in that, and so we're always cooking. And it's like, yeah, we'd rather just eat the stuff that we make at home because it does turn out pretty damn good. In watching the video of you doing the ultra race, and again, I watched it right before we ended up talking today. There's kind of a mentality, though, that's pervasive about you that I think helps you along the way. One is, it seems you're very proud of the fact that you've never DNF'd. So a DNF means did not finish, and you've never DNF'd, and that seems to drive you.
Impressive in itself.
Absolutely, especially
Seriously.
in some of these endurance bike races and the stuff that you've gone through. And if you watch this video, I mean, it's a gravel race across Kansas. You would think 350 miles on flat surface would be okay. Holy crap, the stuff that you endured and going through the mud and the wind, the rain, and all of that kind of stuff just seemed nasty. But the second thing is, too, you got off to a bad start in the race. And then you had this point that you made, let the body lead the mind. Can you explain that a little bit? Because I think that probably does help you, and it's something that people might not quite understand, because you're always told, like, okay, psych yourself out, let your mind push through this. You got to get up for it mentally, but letting the body lead the mind seems to work for you. Explain it if you could.
Okay, so over time, through all these crazy projects like this, I didn't just like wake up and be some inspirational guru, right? Like, I am just a normal dude who just says yes to life. And so I say yes, and I don't think about it. I don't overthink. I don't like stress myself out. And so when, Jeremiah originally had asked me to do this Hawaii project, I didn't even look at the route. I don't know how long it is. I don't know how tall it is. I don't know shit, but I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to figure it out when I'm out there, because then what happens is it puts you in a survival mode of like, okay, well, if I don't finish this, I'm dead. So like, you just all of a sudden get into a position where your primal instinct takes over. And that is a very, very primal or very powerful energy is a primal energy. So then over time, I've just slowly learned that your mind it's a computer, right? And it's a rev limiter, and you could kill yourself if your mind wasn't there. Like you could just rev your heart to 200 beats per minute forever and die. And there's all these doors in place to prevent you, from creating real damage to your body. And so what do you listen to, and what can you push past? And what I've learned is that your body is capable of unimaginable feats. What gets in the way is your mind. And so then people just assume, oh, well, he's so fit and he's so this and his body's so much better than mine. Bro, we all have arms, we all have legs, we all have muscles. It's objectively like very similar, right? We have very small differences in our physical form. And those do make obviously marginal gains, and like that, that is important to be a little bit fit. But for the most part, your mind is what makes the greatest difference. And so when in my mind, it's just going on a loop, quit, stop, hurting, pain, stop, hungry, quit. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to let that play on repeat, but I'm just going to disassociate my mind from my body, and my legs will keep pedaling. And then eventually, at a certain point, whatever's going on in the mind will fatigue out. And that like negative Nelly, that negative aspect that is totally natural. And I think that people, they weight it too much. They're like, oh, my brain says quit. I should listen. I should quit. You don't have to listen to that. It's just a automated program going on in the background, right? For self-preservation. So like, this is like super hippie, but over the times that I've been doing ultra endurance things where we're in Death Valley, where we rode across Montana, 52 hours in 5 days, we did Virginia, Colorado, West Texas, like these are moments where whatever you think you are, you have to hold that up. Like you're holding these shields and masks, and like there's an energy that you have to hold this protection around you. And when you get into a position where you're just so exhausted and so hungry and so defeated, all of that comes down. And then it sort of opens up your core code like a fucking robot. And it's like, okay, I can see here what is happening and why it's happening without me thinking about it. And then all of a sudden you're separated from your like biology. And like, it's so strange because then there's this consciousness that's floating above this like weird machine. And then you get to see that machine in work. And then it becomes so like, oh, like, okay, I understand these signals. I understand when my brain thinks this, when these voices are said, it's not really that's me. That's just a mechanism of exhaustion. That's a mechanism of thirst. That's a mechanism of fatigue. So then you just understand, okay, when this message hits me like a pop-up on a computer, hey, your memory's running low. Well, how low? Okay, well, bro, I got 4 gigs left. Like I'm good. I don't have to listen to this pop-up right now. You know what I mean? Now, there is a point in which you need to like the alert that's like, hey, your back's broken, like stop riding. Like, okay, right. I got to listen to that, but it just takes time. And then, yeah, just let your body take you where you need it to go. And that's so very difficult to do in practice. It's easy to say, but let your mind be negative. Like all these gurus of being like, oh, dude, your mind is be positive. You can't control that all the time. So just get comfortable with your brain being an absolute asshole to you. But don't stop. Just keep moving.
I love that so much because and I'm a track and field coach, Tyler, and one of the things for our high school athletes that we tell them is like that mindset thing as well, but donate your body to the cause. So like we're going to put you through this workout and we're going to get you to the point that it's like muscle memory, if you will, and just kind of go through it. And like you said, that survival mode is you put that in such a way that it's a little bit out there, but I understand what you're trying to say, and I understand where you're going with it and why you said it the way you did. And so Sarah, who having some trouble getting her back into the call, but she wanted to know, she's a marathoner and she's a distance runner and a very strong-willed person. And from your perspective and your team and all the people that you race with and bike with, do they go vegan, or do you have other folks who see what you do and say, maybe I should give that a try?
Yeah. I've had some high level athletes dabble in plant-based and then make the total switch. They don't publicly speak it, right? Because they don't, that word vegan is still pretty like heavy.
Get you some looks, maybe.
You know what I mean? It's sort of like an activist-y term, which I have always thought is so weird. If you're 99% healthy, okay, you eat salads and you run and everything you eat is ultra healthy, but you still eat a little bit of meat, everyone applauds you. You're so healthy. You're so amazing. The second you make that 1% click over to be in all plants, bro, you're a skeleton. You're dying. You're murdering yourself. The anger that goes from like applauding someone for being healthy to then like, it's so close. I don't understand. But yeah, I've had some people, have conversations with me and like, hey, I'm looking to reduce, my animal product intake. And, I've never once told anyone to go fully vegan. I just tell them to eat mostly plants and you'll be okay. And then what ends up happening is you eat more plants, you feel better. You want to eat more plants, you feel better. It's just a thing that goes on. And you can't, just like with politics or any like religion, anything, I can't yell at you and make you change. Like, this is a change that has to come from your own experience. And that experience takes a different amount of time for different people. And so, give them the tools, let them know it is possible, but they're going to have to kind of figure it out on their own and, what works for them and the timeline on how aggressive they're going to be with it.
You actually, in watching that movie and doing the ultra race, talk about that was the most fun you've ever had on a bike. And I'm thinking to myself, no way, no sleep, riding through the night, mud caked on your face and all of that. Is this the most fun you've ever had on your bike? So if you really think back on it, and all these rides, and I listed a bunch of them that you've been on, you've talked about, biking across states and all that kind of stuff. What's been your favorite ride? The one that you look back on and say, man, I would do that one again. I can't wait to do that one again. Or I really loved it. Like, it's set in my mind as my all-time favorite. What do you think it would be and why?
Yeah, it's impossible to say that because they're all different. There's a context. Type 2 fun is very subjective, right? And so what you consider success or fun or enjoyable comes from the memory of it usually. But in Unbound, when I said that, where that was coming from was, we were at 330 miles into a race that I had been wanting to quit for so long. And then, I made it to this point. I'm feeling great. And then it's just pouring rain. And now there's this element that isn't just about riding. And that's what I really like, is when it's more than just power. That's more than just pushing on the pedals. Like, now we're talking about skill, because it's very hard to ride through this mud. It's, you're talking about your ability to endure like hard times. Like, and so for me, my face is just covered in mud. I can't see. My eyes are grainy. And it's just like, this is life, because I know that I am so close to this being done. And so the worse it gets, the better the experience. And that is one big thing that I've learned, is to embrace the suck. I really
I've heard that. I love that.
Yeah. So like, I hope it doesn't rain. Well, then as soon as it starts sprinkling, you're mad, right? And then you're like, shit, it's raining. This sucks. Then it starts raining more, and you're like, well, why me? Like, bleh. your mindset, the way you framed it, is not allowing you to enjoy what it really is. So when you embrace the suck, if it rains, I hope it fucking snows. I hope there's lightning bolts everywhere. I hope that we are just going through epic conditions. So then when it never reaches that like insane level, you're actually enjoying it. Like the worse it gets, the better it becomes in your mind. Just reframe the thought. And so, you know, again, like objectively, was that the most fun I've ever had? No, right? Like, but given the context of I am going to finish this and how good I'm going to feel sitting on a couch drinking a sparkling water, because okay, objectively sitting on a couch drinking a sparkling water, like what is that? It's like a 1 out of a 10. It's like not even a thing. It's not even an experience. Given that I just rode 350 miles through hell, and now that makes that so amazing. And I think that that's, to me, what ultra endurance sports really are able to do is they recalibrate your spectrum. So I think everyone has a spectrum from 0 to 10. You can't, and that's it, right? So a 10 is the greatest thing you've ever experienced. A 0 is the worst thing you've ever experienced. Let's say you are the son of a billionaire. Okay, your life is extremely bougie. Having cold coffee could literally be a 7 or 8 on your scale, like a 2, right? There would be like a 2 on your scale. Like, it's terrible. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Right? You're experiencing a 2, right? Okay. But let's say, so cold coffee is a 2 to this person, when you might have some 12-year-old boy in like Africa running from like militants trying to chop his head off. That's a 2, because he deals with that often. You know what I mean? So the same level of experience is totally different in the context in which that experience is portrayed. So, you know, I have a pretty comfortable life. And eventually, over time, when I'm not doing crazy adventures, that spectrum gets to be like, my coffee is cold. It's not, I get to have coffee. It's now, oh, my coffee's cold. Oh, I don't have enough coffee. Like, it starts to be this where coffee is a bad thing, like it's a negative thing, versus when I'm in the middle of Montana, oh shit, someone brought coffee. Like, it's raw. I'm just crunching beans in my mouth, you know, and I'm stoked, right? Like, so it's putting yourself in a position where all of a sudden you realize, like, just having fluid is awesome, right? Just being able to move your body is awesome. You know, going through hard experiences, they adjust your spectrum. It's recalibrating it. But this, you can't just do it once. You have to redo that all the time. And that's what I love about these. When I go into an adventure, I'm thinking I can't wait to recalibrate. So when I go home and I'm washing the dishes, that's a good thing. That's on the high, like, this is an 8. I'm so fucking stoked to be home in a house with my family. Yeah, I'm washing the dishes, but I'm not walking my bike through the sand in Death Valley.
Well, what you are probably doing is getting that 8 experience. You know, we're based in Madison, Wisconsin, so I'm going to talk about that ride you had through Wisconsin you posted recently. Yeah. I'm sure that was, you know, an adventure, because you never know what kind of weather you're going to get, you know, in a given day. But to kind of just turn it a little bit, because I'm curious, when you're going on these ultra, these long rides, these marathons, these 24-hour things, I got to know from a non-cyclist, where do you go to the bathroom?
So if it's raining, like at Unbound, bro, I just pissed. It's raining, so it's just walking.
You just gotta go.
So, like, I just start peeing. You know, and but when it's not raining, you can't just pee all over yourself. So it's actually really weird. Like, so one, I don't really take in solid food. Almost all my calories come in the liquid form. And so that stops like the poop side of things. You know,
well, that's good.
And because that's really difficult. Like, can't really stop to take a shit out there. And so I do a lot of liquid calories, and you try to pee when you can, but a lot of that stuff is, you gotta find the balance between hydrating enough and overhydrating, right? Because you don't want to just keep drinking and drinking and drinking, and then now you're peeing all the time. Like, that's slow and that's difficult, and it honestly takes a lot of energy for you to hold and maintain your piss and like keep it heated in your stomach. So, like, performance wise, you don't really want to be needing to pee all the time. But yeah, I mean, liquid calories for me is essential for projects like that.
Dude, it seems like our show always goes there, Eric. Nice job of bringing that up. Because even Sarah's got a story of like peeing while she's running a marathon, and there's a lady in front of her taking a dump while she's running. I'm like, my goodness, man, why does it always turn to this on our show? But okay, I did want to ask too, because I think the films are kind of incredible that you do. And the production of it, is a lot of GoPros and drones. Does it ever slow you down? Are you storyboarding ideas? How does all of that work, or is this just flying by the seat of your pants, camera on a helmet, and go?
So the production is as hard as the ride itself, and that's something that really gets lost in the story. I mean, I wish I'll have time to do behind the scenes stuff, because there's more story to making these work than there is in the actual story of doing it. So for one, I edit these. I am the art director. Like, I'm editing the film in my head while we're riding, because, okay, it comes down to me. And if the video sucks, it's me. And so I have to make sure that I have all the clips I need. And over time, I've found how to string things together, how to tell a good story visually. And so I will say to the film crew, hey, I need a side shot close. I need a side shot far. I need a locked off shot coming. I need a locked off shot leaving. In my head, while I'm fucking riding for 36 hours, I'm like, okay, I need these shots. And so it gets really
hard to get a retake on that too.
Well, okay, in Death Valley, we learned a lot, and we had to do a lot of reshoots. Titus Canyon was one where, like, it was so unbelievable, and we were just like repeating, right? Just up and down, up and down, up and down. You don't see that, right? You don't see that we just did an extra 3 hours in Titus Canyon, because we need it. You know what I mean? I need this footage. And so we've gotten better at being a little more like on the go, and not stopping so much to set up cameras and that sort of thing. We've worked with a lot of different videographers, but some of this stuff, it's so hard to get. And so then we have, GoPros on us at all times. Like, I literally have 10 batteries and 3 different GoPros, because I've had parts where the GoPro just dies. Like, I can't turn it on. This GoPro smoked. Okay. Then I'm pissed, because like, then the adventure happens and it's like, I'm not getting it on film. And so I have really learned how to capture while also being in this. And then also, you're at a point physically where you don't want to turn on the camera. You just are just dying. You don't want to do anything. You just want to be done. But that's when the story comes. Who cares when you're bright and bushy tail? Like, this isn't a story about 2 guys high-fiving and loving life. Like, the story is when we hate each other. And trying to get that and trying to capture that is a lot. So in West Texas, that was the most recent Impossible route. We spent a lot of money on our video guy. He's amazing. He's great. We had 2 follow cars. We had a van and a truck. They both flatted in the first 20 miles. Okay. So then,
dude,
all right, we'll figure out the flats, I guess. And we have to keep going. So then we didn't see the film crew for like 12 hours. You know what I mean? Like, and then the van was actually stuck for hours. They were going to just push it off into the desert and come back for it later. And it was like a $250,000 Sprinter van that we had borrowed from Storyteller. So like,
Oy.
you know, the crew is going through this whole experience themselves. And, you know, then the truck that we brought to be able to follow us on the really rough roads, he flatted twice, so he had no spares. So it's like, okay, so then now they can only follow us on the road. And I am so very angry in my head. And Nick, this is something that I've really been trying to battle with, is like, I'm out here trying to tell a film. It's on me. Okay. So then if this film sucks, everyone else isn't getting blamed, right? It's my job to make this story. And if I don't have any footage, how do I do that? And so like, now I'm just so frustrated because we don't, like, the guy we spent so much money on, because I'm not getting paid. Like, I don't get paid for this. All of the budget we have goes into hard costs and everyone else getting paid, but I don't take money from the edit because we don't have the money. We don't have the budget. And I'm not going to just wait until we have enough sponsors. Like, I'm just going to get it done. So anyways, so I'm like, okay, everyone else is getting paid. And now I'm the fucking videographer, right? So I got the GoPros and, but anyways, and then, you know, you finish the thing and you start digging through the footage and now you got to tell the story. And what's wild is sometimes that shaky GoPro footage is so much better than the Ultra 8K Red Cinema camera on a gimbal. It tells a better story. And that's another thing that's really wild is the cost of the footage that I have cut is just like, it's painful, but it's like, man, we spent like $4,000 on this shot, cut, like gone. You know what I mean? We're not using it because it just doesn't tell a story. And, you know, that's something where I feel like very proud of how I've learned how to tell a story without chasing a sponsor plug or like, you know, being addy about it. You know, I don't put mid-roll ads in the videos. And in 2 of the films, Canyon's the title sponsor. 2 of them, we never say the word Canyon. We never say, we're on our Canyon Luxes. We never even say Canyon, right? And so, and Canyon, they don't even see the films until they're live on YouTube. So the creative control that I have with the partners is unparalleled, right? Like that just doesn't happen in the media industry. Like, how many people want to piss in the soup and be like, well, okay, it's an hour and 15. We need to cut this down to 4 15-minute bites. And then we need mid-roll ads. And actually, you know, we've got a sponsor from, you know, Traeger Grills. So like, we need you grilling in the middle of the desert. And it's like, dude, that's not the story.
Well, and you go for that authenticity. I think that's what, you know, people tune in for is, you know, when you're on the bike and you got, you know, you talk about the GoPro and how much that's a better, you know, experience for the viewers. And, you know, Rich and I and Sarah work in TV and news and have seen all that kind of stuff. And you're right. It's sometimes it's the stuff you don't really expect or something that goes wrong that makes the best footage. And Rich, I don't know, you can kind of cut me short if we're running short on time for the interview, but I want to give you a little softball question because I noticed you had beer in your video, that Breathe video. And here in the Midwest, it's pretty big and it's big for cyclists. So I didn't know if you had a favorite or sponsorship or what your post-ride beer is. So just want to kind of get to know the man a little bit on that.
Yeah. Well, so this is, I don't drink beer. It's not a part of my
goodness.
life.
Oh, you're phony.
I know. So it's something that is a bit of an issue because a lot of people, they're like, I want to take you out for a beer afterwards, or, you know, that there's a beer culture. And in that Breathe video, I put that in there because that would resonate, even though that's not my story, that is more people will resonate with that. And that's something about like how to connect with people is through empathy. Just because I have a certain perspective on the world doesn't mean that's your perspective on the world. And so I need to learn how to understand we're all different, and your lens is not necessarily my lens. So that was one of those things where I understand there's a beer culture. I understand people dig it. It's just, not to get super deep, but my dad was never around. I was raised by my mom and my grandma, and just never saw beer associated as manhood. And that, I think, for a lot of people, they sort of associate that as like, that's what men do. That's what strength is, and then they get into it and they enjoy it. And it's just not, my mom like drank Zimas, so like when I was drinking in high school, it was Smirnoff Ice, like it just was never, it was just never really a beer thing. And it's not, it's just really weird. It's not something I enjoy. It's not something I partake, not because I have problems with alcohol in any ways. Like it's not really my jam. And so, so sometimes that gets a little awkward, cool. and I don't want to come off judgy. So then I just try to like avoid the situation because it's okay. Oh, so the vegan cyclist doesn't drink beer. Go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like I'm already a pretentious asshole. And so then I don't want to be that
cyclist. I mean, that's 3 strikes right there. So
yeah. Exactly. So, what's next for you, Tyler? I mean, do you have this stuff like planned out in advance? Do you know what rides you're going to do, or what films you're going to do? What's next on the horizon for you?
Man, we got a lot. So, right now, I'm preparing this weekend to put on a free ride in my town. So, like a lot of these fondos or events, they cost a lot of money, and that cuts out a ton of the demographic of people who want to ride. And so I'm actually putting on a 2-day fondo that's 100% free in my area. So that's kind of like a stressor right now, is that I've got all these people coming up to my area, and how do I feed them? How do I make sure that the time is good? And anyways, so that's going on. But then the next week we're doing Impossible Route episode 3 through Oregon. That's a mountain bike trip through the Dark Divide. We're like riding over volcanoes and it's totally crazy. So that's going to be like a survival type of thing. We'll be out in the Oregon wilderness for 3 days. Then after that, I have ultra distance nationals. That is my A goal for the years, to become the ultra distance national champion. It's 508 miles in Nevada.
Wow.
I really, really feel confident about that. Now, am I ever going to wear an actual, Stars and Stripes jersey in Elite Road or Crit or, mountain bike? No, I'll never achieve that level of fitness or dedication. But in ultra distance, that is something that is much more natural to me. And I don't, it's not like I hope I become the national champion. If all things work out, it's like, I just got to show up. I'm going to be a national champion. And that's really, really cool. It's really, really neat to see, because I was never an athlete. I was never supposed to be an athlete. It's never something I identified with. So to be just some random guy who picked up a bike and rode like around, and I haven't had success like right away. Like some people, they have success immediately. They win races. They do cool things. This has been such a slow burn, right? Like I started riding in 2010. So like I've been riding for a while and I haven't had much success. So then like, that's just fueled the fire. Like I want this success so bad. And so it's really a neat long form story of like, just not really being like, this isn't my pedigree. Like I don't have parents that were cyclists. Like I wasn't some national champion at like 8 years old. This was just sheer will. And also trying different sports. So like one of the things is that sometimes I think people lock themselves into a thing they want to be good at. I want to be, a fast marathon runner. And then that's what you focus on. That's what you put your energy in. But maybe you just suck at that. Maybe your genetics and your physical makeup are not marathon. Maybe you're a sprinter. Well, so like, but if you're a sprinter type and you're trying to do marathons, you're always going to be behind. Like you're never going to be great. So just find the thing you're physically naturally good at. Now, but that takes trying different things, you know, and that's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable trying new things, but who knows? If you've never been like an alpine skier, maybe you're the best in the world, but you've never done it, so you don't know, right? So like try new things, get outside your comfort zone and find the thing that like fits you the best. And my ability to deal with heat is like really well. Like my ability to dissipate heat is phenomenal. So like genetically, I already have this thing where I can operate in high heat. So like this race in Nevada, like perfect, right? Good. My ability to quiet the mind over such a long period of time, like I'm good at that. My power delivery is really good over 24 hours, you know? And so there's all these little things that allow me to have success in this weird niche thing. But when I go to like a crit, which is like a 1 hour poop pants effort, all of those things don't matter. Like my heat acclimation doesn't matter because it's not long enough. You know, my mental strength doesn't matter because it's all fitness based, and my power profile doesn't really lend to that. So then it's like that saying of like, if you judge a fish's ability to climb a tree, you know, okay, well, it's a fish, dude. It's not trying to climb a tree. So find if you're a fish, find the pond.
Absolutely. And you've tried different things. You know, we talked about the Brazilian jiu-jitsu and then the cycling. You tried track cycling. The cool thing is about your sport, if anybody cuts you off on a bike, you could always put them in a rear naked choke or a guillotine or something like that. And that's the end of that. Tyler, you've been absolutely brilliant. But before you get out of here, I really would hope that you could tell everybody where they can find you. Obviously, lots and lots of people have. There's websites or social media, the YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. You're probably way better at telling people than I am. Please, where can everybody find you at?
So my long form films are on YouTube. YouTube, The Vegan Cyclist, and The Impossible Route is what I would say is like my legacy. Those, you know, it takes 150 to 200 hours to edit one of those films. You know, you can look at the playlist. Impossible Route is it's the best thing I've ever done or created or been a part of. I also have videos. I did an off the couch Ironman. You know, that one's really cool. My son ran with me the last mile of that. Like, you know, tears, like it's so cool. You know, I have these other big weird events like Unbound, you know, and there was one at Sea Otter where I raced all the bikes, like downhill mountain biking, cross country mountain biking, road, dual slalom, you know, a circuit race, like just riding them all the bikes. It was like 5 races in 3 days. Like it was crazy. But yeah, so those are the films. And then Instagram is also where I put a lot of my shorter stuff, and just kind of like, I'll daily vlog sometimes on Instagram story and put a lot of energy into that, you know? So I went to France, and that was a big part of that whole project, was like also then showing the life through Instagram, and setting up the camera, like doing all this work to like, it's 24 hours, like it goes away, you know? But I love the craft of telling a story. And you wake up, how do I make you feel like you're here? And, you know, that's what I really try to do. And I love the craft of it. So Instagram, The Vegan Cyclist, YouTube, The Vegan Cyclist. That's where you can find me.
And maybe a new website called Taint of Steel would be very good as well. Love that. Tyler, awesome job, man. Congratulations on all the success so far, continued success. And thanks for hanging with us for a while, dude. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.